Today I'm bringing you a few examples that prove you don't necessarily have to have a good scape, maybe just give your tank a job. Now I am curious if you have any tanks yourself where you just either give up aquascaping or your tank just becomes a certain kind of purpose and you enjoy it better even though the scape isn't something you're crazy about. This one is a tank that I really kind of liked. It was like a 3.5 gallon. I called it Shrimp Hollow, and it housed my yellow Neocaridina shrimp, and I absolutely loved the scape. I really did enjoy it. However, that large NECA wood piece in the center, it did take up a lot of room. It was kind of hard to clean around, and I actually found that there was a certain occupant in here that I really wanted to make sure stayed very safely. So this tank is now in the kitchen, looks a little bit different, and it is basically holding my super micro tiny Anubias, and that is its function right now. Does it have that beautiful vibe that it used to? No. Do I like the scape as much? No. But it does serve a certain purpose, and it's absolutely fine until I can get to rescaping it. Now, speaking of tiny plants, this is a tank. It's I think maybe like about a 2.5 gallon, and I actually scaped this specifically for my tiny collection of Buse. And that's it. That was its own single purpose, and I really enjoyed having all my Buse all together so I could keep track of it, make sure it doesn't like get float away or float up with the duckweed and lose it. And I think that worked out very, very well. Now this last tank here is actually the inspiration for this video. This is kind of one of my arch nemesis tanks, and this is my rummy nose tank. This was the first variation that I had done. I kind of liked the start of it. It was holding a lot of my Anubias, which I liked. I just kind of combined it with a few pieces of Cereus stone, more on the left, less on the right, and I know Mr. Primetime really liked it. I did not, for whatever reason. It was actually quite difficult to clean. It wasn't what I really intended to do. It made the rummy nose look really, really beautiful. Of course, they really can't look not beautiful, but I broke it down. So I pulled everything out, which made it a ginormous mess, of course. That's just what happens. And pulled out a whole lot of plants, some of which I had no idea were even back there, and I had no idea that they had become so large. But it was kind of fun to start from scratch. Of course, this one went down the tubes as well because I did, I really wish I would have just stopped like right here. It would have made really fun. Little, the bulbitis on the rock was, I really liked, but everything else, don't like. It's just a big hodgepodge. This was the only part of the tank that I liked, the right side. This left side, yuck. It had no purpose. And this is what I've been wanting to show you for a long time. This is what it looks like right now. Did I quote unquote scape it? No, it is actually serving one purpose, and that is to hold a really big collection of Anubias. It's just all in this tank. We broke down a number of tanks in the basement, if you're all aware, which I believe when you see this video in the Primetime live stream will be the first time that we're going to be having the live stream in the gallery. Very excited. But it's holding a small collection of Buse and a whole lot of Anubias. I really just had no rhyme or reason. I kind of left this center kind of fallen log in the middle. I just kind of like how it is a big blob of a bunch of Anubias on the right. There are some, a whole bunch of little Cory cats. I've got Blue Dream shrimp, which is really fun. And then I have, of course, my rummy nose who are still in here. I have a clown pleco that likes to hide, and I've got my CPDs that are actually quite large now, and some emerald dwarf rasboras. But this Anubias, I know that it's all together when I need it. It's all right there. I've got a bunch of plants floating at the top, and it's totally fine. It's keeping, especially when you have all Anubias, so much Anubias and not a lot of fast growing plants. I do have some Val along the back, and some other random bacopa, I think, is floating around at the top, but I do have hornwort at the top, and it is also serving a function to keep the algae down because Anubias is not a fast grower. So I certainly don't want algae coming around, and so that's why I have the hornwort. It gives it kind of a nice cover and nice shade. A lot of these fish they can be quite timid, except of course the Reminos that are very, very personable. But this tank I've been wanting to show you so bad because it looks quite different from the last time. But just the fact that it's not Scape to how I would really like it. I mean, it doesn't bother me that much. It is kind of nice to see a whole tank filled with Anubias and Buse. It's kind of cool, but it's just serving a purpose. And sometimes tanks have to do that. Sometimes the Scape is just not coming together, or you just can't get the supplies. You can't get the fish you want, and you're waiting. You're just waiting and waiting. This is what you do. Just give your tank a job, give it a purpose, and just know, I'm going to get to it some other time. And a lot of lessons I find that you learn in this aquarium hobby. One of them is patience, because you're probably always going to be waiting for something, and that's okay. So hopefully you like this video. Hopefully you're going to share with me if you've got some fun stories. I always love reading your stories on maybe something, a tank that went south for you, it just wasn't behaving, or tanks that you've had to set up specifically for a purpose. But thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week.